Happy Thanksgiving, fans, and welcome to another edition of the Counterpunch. Today we'll highlight Ryan Bader, who has been one of the best light heavyweight fighters on the planet over the past few years. Bader has had plenty of success over his 10-year career as a professional fighter, but it's been the recent success that the 34-year-old has had that has really stood out. Ryan Bader has seen it all during his career. Bader fought in the UFC for 8 years, and during his time in the UFC, he fought some of the biggest names in the sport like John Jones, Quentin Rampage Jackson, and Tito Ortiz, just to name a few. But for all those big fights, he never had a title fight until he came to Bellator in 2017. Bader's first fight with Bellator came at Bellator 180 against a former UFC foe in Phil Davis, who was the Bellator light heavyweight champ, and Bader took advantage of the moment and won his first professional belt in front of a huge crowd at Madison Square Garden.
It doesn't get much better than winning my first title in Madison Square Garden, you know, having friends and family. And then, like I said, that's just one of those notches. I'll look back on my career, and that's one of those things you can never duplicate. You know, and so from here on out, it's just kind of icing on the cake.
The moment was sweet for Bader, especially since he didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the transition from UFC to Bellator, which is known to give fighters problems.
I just feel like this is home. You know, you see a lot of the UFC guys come over and they don't do too well, you know, and I don't know what it is. You know, for me, it's I've wrestled all over the world. In the UFC, I've fought all over the world. And then to come in here, you know, never stepping foot in a Bellator cage, and, you know, until 30 seconds right before a title fight, you know, I just follow my routine, and I know I'm going to perform because I know I put in the work, and when I get in there, it's just do what I got to do.
The next time Darth Bader stepped into a cage, it was at Bellator 186, where Bader headlined the card at Penn State, and once again had to do something that he's never done before. Ryan Bader may be a veteran of mixed martial arts, but tonight when he makes his way out to the cage, it will be the first time that he does so as a world champion. Bader's opponent in the main event was Litton Vissel, and just like always, Bader used his wrestling background to dominate in the fight. The former two-time All-American at Arizona State got a takedown in the second round, and once he got into the top position, he was able to get the ground and pound going to get the TKO victory.
I was going for a very specific position right there because, you know, we've studied him and we drilled it, and you know, especially when I had him down on the cage, I knew he was going to pop up on that elbow and turn away from me, and allow me to stick my hand in there and do like a little wrestling wrist ride.
Now Bader is a defending champion, and that's something that fighters will often say is harder than winning the belt. But Bader isn't like other fighters. He believes that winning the belt was harder, especially since he had to wait so long for a title fight.
I think it was harder to win. I came over and fought, you know, Phil and I are top 3 guys in the world regardless of promotion, and fought him on the first fight over here, getting my feet wet, you know, and you know, people always say, oh, now you have a target on your back because you're a champion, but I had a target on my back regardless, you know, coming over here from the UFC. You know, for example, the guy I just fought, you know, was calling me out before I even signed, you know, and so I've always had that. And so, you know, even in the UFC, I was a top 5 guy, and they'd look and be like, oh, that's an easy fight in the top 5, and call me out, and I'd beat him, and they'd have excuses, you know. So I've always had that I've always had that target on my back, so it doesn't matter, you know. So getting that title shot and winning that there was harder because you never know if you're going to get that again. And to go in there and actually do it, now that's done and over with. Now I can just go out and not have that hanging over my head.
Bader feels like everything is on the right track now. Not only does he think that he's fighting better than he ever has before, but now he's in a promotion that he believes is offering him so many opportunities.
I'm open to everything. That's one of the things that, you know, when I came over here from the UFC, that intrigued me the most, you know, it was opportunities. Yes, I got a great contract and all that kind of good stuff that goes with it, but it was the opportunities that were presented or I could present, you know, and they were open to it, you know, and so I'm definitely open to everything.
One of those opportunities that Bader is happy about is the chance to be a 2-division champion. Bader walks around naturally at around 230 pounds, so he thinks that he'll be a quick heavyweight, and now he's going to get the chance to prove that. Bellator has just recently added an 8-man heavyweight Grand Prix to crown their first ever heavyweight champ, and they chose Bader to be in the tournament. Some other big names to join Bader in the tournament are former UFC stars Roy Big Country Nelson, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Frank Mir, and the American gangster Chael Sonnen. Well, that's it for this episode of The Counterpunch. Remember to keep watching SSPTV Sports for more episodes of The Counterpunch, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.